Yo, 2026 and the link is feeling cold. Stories of a super runner getting kinda old. Jalen under fire, say his vision's getting tight. Calling him uncoachable every single night. AJ in the tray, got me in my fields. Mr. Hollywood is the brownest on the field. Mannion calling plays, I'll be searching for the spark. Eagles flying solo, hunting shadows in the dark. Crable and Rossini trying to launch a master plan. Ever since the photos got you sitting with the fans. Draft day approaching, how we sitting on this perch. Gotta fill some holes, so you know he's on the search. 10 toes down with the Eagles on the scene. Watching out for Cap, cause your boy is bleeding green. Searching through the trending topics, info moving slow. Pro fan talk, always keep you in the know. Pro fan talk. Hit the bell, that's law. Break it down from the film to the box score raw. Pro fan talk. Where the real ones bar. From the birds to the league, we gon' cover it all. Pro fan talk. Hit the bell, that's law. Break it down from the film to the box score raw. Pro fan talk. Where the real ones bar. From the birds to the league, we gon' cover it all. Pro fan talk.
What's going on, y'all? Happy Tuesday? Yeah, today's Tuesday, right? Yeah. A lot of stuff going on. Yes, today is Tuesday. That means I got to get the trash out tonight. But anyways, what's going on? Want to go live with you. Should have been doing this at about 12 on the dot, but doing stuff. So, you know the rules. This is live at lunch. I'm going to be going for about 45, 50 minutes. I will promise I will be done. You will have plenty of time to finish your meal, wash your hands, and get back to work. All right. So let's get it. What's going on, Ian Sr.? You first out the limo in the chat. Quentin, what's going on, my guy? Arthur, what's going on? Darth Panda, what's going on? I reminded you about taking the trash out. Yeah, our trash comes on Wednesday, so usually around right after I get off work on Tuesday, I'm usually putting it out. So yeah, but a couple things I wanted to get into. I took a couple notes, a couple of bullet points that I wanted to talk about. Because something, first of all my people in Philadelphia, we just had a breaking news that Rob Thompson just got fired. So there's that. So that's the biggest news that everybody's talking about right now. I don't do too much Philly stuff. To me, it's still too early to get into it, but you know, that's major news. Let me blow myself up a little bit, get a little bit bigger on screen. So yeah, this is the big news that's going on right now. Rob Thompson is out. And I guess he should be. I don't know. Again, I don't follow the Phillies that much. I watch the Phillies. I don't follow the Phillies. Big difference. So, yeah, we'll see how this runs out. Don Mattingly has got the gig right now. He's the intern coach. And you might as well say he's the head coach because you got a lot of baseball. Are they even at 25 games yet? So, I don't know. It's going, but Don Mattingly, I guess he's interviewing for the job, and he will have the whole year to interview. So, there's that. 2 years too late. Yeah, I'll see that. But one of the things that I wanted to get to right off the bat, got a little fun stuff and got something that I want to get into. Let me see where we are. Let me see. You know what? Let me talk about this real quick because this was just on my nerves. Right? You see this post right here. I posted this at about 11:48 this morning. So just saw that. I just responded to something I saw. I'm sitting here working on Photoshop and something came across my algorithm and I was like, oh Lord. So this was a response to some of the stuff that I saw with DJ Vlad and Aries Spears. So I know the whole situation with Vlad is kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of people for various reasons, some legit, some I think is BS, but because at the end of the day, when Vlad was paying all these folks money, they didn't have no problem with it. Then everybody gets conscious. But in any case, apparently him and Aries Spears are going back. He said something about Aries Spears, telling about a situation about asking for more money. So Vlad was like, cool, I don't mess with you no more. You don't mess with me, cool. And he was like, F Spears and this, that, and the other. And then I see Aries Spears video, and he's like, I didn't even think I was going to have to respond have a response to this, but because my name is my zodiac, I'm gonna respond. And I was like, I immediately turned it off because something triggered me. And I was like, if you are posting a response or a rebuttal to a situation that's going on, but you begin it with, I didn't feel the need to respond, but I'm like, just stop. Just stop. Like, we are devolving into fucking third graders. It's like, if you ain't, just because you can say something don't mean you should. Just keep it moving, go about your business, and keep it moving. So, and it's this, it's not, let me say it correctly. It is the social media culture that makes people have to respond. Because now he ain't getting that Vlad check no more, which means that he's got to figure out a way to come up, get his numbers up so he can continue to get paid, because drama creates traffic, traffic pays. That's the formula. So he didn't feel the need to respond, but the wallet is saying, well, you better say something. So in any case, that just irked me for some reason. That and everything that goes on with the WNBA and all this kind of stuff. And I'm saying that just to transform a little bit, like the stuff that's going on with the WNBA, and all these people that were crashing out because the Indiana Fever, who's my favorite team, Caitlin Clark is one of my favorite players, right behind Kelsey Mitchell, because they draft Raven Johnson, and folks was losing their shit and crashing out. I was like, what is this? What is all of this? Like for what? And part of it is people in the WNBA, fans of the WNBA, are not used to having this level of mainstream media. This is my opinion, and that's the first thing. The second thing is, because they're used to operating in a small group, in a small pond, you can reach certain people and reach certain demographics because your pond is so small. You can go think of it like being in an auditorium. If I'm giving a speech in an auditorium that fits 300 people, I can basically walk around and answer questions and talk to everybody face to face. Everybody sees me. It's a much more intimate conversation. But if you turn that 300 room, conference room, think of it like one of them. I don't know if y'all had conference rooms in college where we had a little stage and you would have about 300 seats. It was like a little amphitheater, but it was very small and it was just the size of a classroom. I'm sure you've seen movies. You know what I'm talking about. But if you transform that to go from 300 people to 3,000 people, well, now you can't be as intimate. That's what the WNBA was. They had a small group of people so they could reach everybody that they had to talk to because they were just small. Now they big. And you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. And they still talking about, we going to try to control what people say on the internet. No, the hell you ain't. So the only thing you need to do is just keep playing ball. Indiana Fever fans crashing out because we drafted Raven Johnson. Raven Johnson's pretty damn good. That ain't got shit to do with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark gonna play. Now people bitching because they don't like the way Stephanie White is playing Caitlin Clark because she's playing off ball. And let me be honest with you, I don't like her playing off ball either. But if that's what the coach says she gonna do, guess what the hell Caitlin Clark gonna be doing? Playing off ball. And if she is good as we think she is, it ain't gonna matter. And if Stephanie White ruins an opportunity because the way she doesn't want to change, now this is something that's common in all coaches. Look at what we're going through right now in Philadelphia. If you are a coach and you are not willing to change what you are doing, if you don't alter your scheme based on your personnel, you will be promoted to fan. It's no different if it's basketball, if it's football, if it's baseball, it doesn't matter. Coaches get fired every season for that reason right there. They think their way is the best way, so it's my way or the highway, and they don't look at who their personnel is. You must, as a coach, any successful coach, you must change your way of thinking based on the personnel that you have on your team, period. Because they are the ones that make it work. I've seen that time and time again from Little League on up. If you got the fastest kid on the team, but every time you throw him a pass, he drops the ball, then it doesn't matter because he ain't going to catch it anyways. Everybody does the same thing. Everybody thinks their way is the best. So they ride or die with that. Sometimes to their detriment. Many times to their detriment. The ones that can change, the ones that can adjust are the coaches that last the longest. Now, sometimes you got to throw the other stuff into the pot, the favorism, all of the isms, favoritism, colorism, all of that, nepotism, all of that stuff you got to throw in the pot. Because sometimes some people get a longer leash for doing a lot less. And that's the way it goes. But in any case, so we're going to see what it happens with that, with the WNBA. Everybody crashing out. They've only had one preseason game. One. Raven Johnson looked good. Caitlin Clark looked okay. Sophie Cunningham looked great. And then across the league, this is the first year I'm looking at multiple teams, and I'm going to pay attention to them. Multiple teams. I want to see New York because I want to see that 6'11" girl continue to play ball. I want to see what Lauren Betts is going to do with the Mystics. Her and Kiki Iriafen. I want to see what Dominique Malonga and Flauget is going to do up in Seattle. That's must-see TV. I want to see what Olivia Miles, if Cheryl Reeves is going to let her play, because Cheryl Reeves don't like rookies. So there is a lot of must-see TV. I want to see what Angel's going to do down in Atlanta. There's must-see TV, so I'm watching everything, and this is where they want to be. And you know what? It's going to be some people still out there bitching about it. So it is what it is. So, all right. That's off my list. What was it? Dan Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky. I love Dan Orlovsky because I know he watches tape. And what do I always say to you guys? What do I always say? Numbers don't lie, but they do deceive. He was talking about, I knew I wanted to talk about this, and I'm going to make a longer video about this. Or I'm going to make a video specifically about this. But I had to jump on live and talk about this. But where is it at? Where is it at? Where is it at? There we go. There we go. All right, I want y'all to listen to this clip real quick.
You throw the ball offensively in Philadelphia. Dawn of a new era offensively in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts will have no choice but to throw the ball over the middle field and get comfortable doing it. I think not only the Makai Lemon selection, but to your point, Stowers indicates that Sean Mannion play calling. If we look at Jalen Hurts over the past couple years, he's the least thrower of the football over the middle of the field. 38% of his passes go over the middle of the field. The next closest is Bryce Young, and 6% higher. So
I wanted to stop it right there because this is what I mean where I say numbers don't lie, but they do deceive. Because I saw this and I was like, something's off about this, right? And I know we talk about, and then, now first of all, let me say this: he ain't wrong. He's not wrong. Okay, he's not the stats are the stats, numbers are the numbers. He's not wrong. However, comma, there's a little caveat to this. It matters how often you do it. It matters the results. So I'm taking a limited sample size. All right. So just to make it easy to understand, I want to look at the numbers, right? So let me try to do this real quick. I don't know if this is gonna work. Should work. Let me take this. Do a split screen on you. I'm gonna go nerd on you. Hold on. So let me take this and put that over here. And let me see. Calculator. So this is what I want to do. There we go. All right. Now we got it. So this is how I want to do this. And this is very general. I'm going to be very general about this. And I'm using 100 because that's the easiest number to understand. That's the easiest number to understand. All right. So if Jalen Hurts, he only throws the ball in the middle 38% of the time, and his completion rate is 78%. That's what the numbers say, right? And I'm just doing it based on these guys that Dan Orlovsky used in this little segment, right? So he's only 38%, but he's got a 78% completion rate. And this is across the middle between the numbers, right? So if I'm going to use 100 because that's an even number and it's easy for you to understand. So if the percentage of the attempts, if he throws 38 balls across the middle, right? Then I'm looking at, 78. I'm sure some of y'all can do math faster than me. 78% of 38. Now remember, I'm just doing this nice even numbers. 78% of 38, that's 29.64. So let's go ahead. Remember, we're going to do math. So if it's above 29, if it's above 0.5, you go ahead and round up. So let's just go say he got 30 complete, right? 38%. So out of 100 balls, 38% of them go across the middle. So 78% of 38 is 29.64. So out of 38 balls that go across the middle, 29.6 of them are completed, right? That's what the math say. So let's say 29 or 30, around there, all right? And by that same math, we're going to do, so Bryce Young is 44%. So out of 100 throws, 44% of them are going to go across the middle. And he's his completion rate is 72%. So now we're going to say 72% of 44, right? That's 31. So you're talking about a difference of, let's say, 31 and 29. So let's just say that's a difference of 2 completed passes, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. Cam Ward. Cam Ward throws across the middle 45% of the time, and his completion rate is 68%. So now let's go 68% of 45. 30. We still at the same number. We're still at the same number. Jordan Love, 46%. He throws across 71%. And there we have it, 32. So the number's around the same. 47% of 70. So 47 throws and 70%. And we're talking about 32. So you're talking about let's just say a plus minus of two passes. One in the plus minus of 1.5, maybe. So it's not that big of a difference. Well, I guess my thing is, if you throw across the middle at a limited pace, at a limited clip, but you are plus 70%, you're damn near 80% across the middle. He's head and shoulders above everybody else. He's at 78%. 72 is the next closest. So even if the clip is down and you are completing the pass, what's the problem? And it's not that he can't do it. Maybe when you go across the middle, you see what you're supposed to see, and maybe your brain, and that's the other thing that you can't tell from these numbers. How many times is he supposed to throw across the middle, but it's covered? So you don't throw across the middle, or it would be a pass breakup, or it would be an interception or a turnover. They don't take that into consideration. So I said this last night. I know Hurts' game is not pretty, and he's not the best quarterback one in the NFL. I don't care. I'll still take Hurts over the Golden Boys. They have more to prove than Hurts. I agree 100%, Joe. I agree 100%. That's my thing with the playoffs. That's my thing with the playoffs. You already know that, and I put this number out last year, 45,000 passing yards was at home during the playoffs in 2024 when we went to the Super Bowl. 45,000. And I think this year in 2025, it was around the same number, maybe a little bit more. At home, on the couch, in Cancun, watching the playoffs. So while everybody goes gaga over these big numbers, at the end of the day, do these big numbers take them to and through the playoffs? What was Josh Allen's stats? What was Matthew Stafford's stats? What was Jared Goff's stats? What was Lamar Jackson's stats? It doesn't, everybody thinks that it's going to be a quarterback that takes you to the house. Even Tom Brady, even somebody as good as Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, in my opinion, was one of the best. But Tom Brady had to throw. Somebody had to catch. And here's something that proves my point. This was the only year I have ever rooted for the Patriots. When Randy Moss was there, and if they would have won the Super Bowl, they'd have been another undefeated team. They would have been able to join the 72 Dolphins. That was the only time I was rooting for the Patriots because I personally like Randy Moss, and I wanted to see him get a ring. And that year, they were perfect. Nobody was going to beat them until somebody did in the last game of the season. And that just goes to show that even when you got the best quarterback, arguably in the history of the game, even when you have one of the best wide receivers, arguably in the history of the game, it still ain't enough. You can still get got. The long ball doesn't matter because at the end of the day, there's somebody on that other team that figured out a way to slow Randy Moss down or to get to Tom Brady where he couldn't make the long pass and they couldn't complete the uncatchable pass. Randy couldn't moss folks the way he was used to doing it. So even when you had two of the best ever as a tandem, quarterback and receiver, you had two of the best ever, and they couldn't get it done. Go back and look at Tom Brady's when he did win a Super Bowl, even when he was with Tampa Bay, when he did win the Super Bowl. What kind of receivers did they have? They had role-playing guys. All they did was run good routes, catch the ball. They wasn't lighting it up. Every game they did. Now, mind you, you still got Tom Brady throwing for 1,000,000 yards, but he didn't have receivers catching for 1,800 and 38 touch. He didn't have all of that. He spread the wealth. And what Tom Brady did was he made him a complete team because he got everybody involved. That was why Tom Brady was so good. He could throw the long ball, but again, how many years did he have another wide receiver that was anywhere close to Randy Moss? Mike Evans, maybe. So what's up, Anthony? So what are you looking for? When they put stats like this up and they want to say stuff like this about, throwing across the middle, what exactly are you looking for? You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't add up. And that just drives home my point that everybody thinks that, and Jalen said it right. Jalen said it right. My goal is to win games. I don't care what it looks like. And he meant that. He meant that. And maybe AJ didn't do that. AJ is on the path to be a Hall of Fame receiver. And maybe he thinks staying here, he's not going to achieve that because he's not going to get the numbers he needs. And guess what? There is no guarantee that he's going to get it in New England. Drake May ain't that damn good. So I've seen Drake May make some horrible passes too. But ain't nobody talking about that. What's his offensive line going to look like? Ain't nobody talking about that. What's going to happen when all of your focus is on A.J. Brown? Ain't nobody talking about that. Is Romeo Doubs and A.J. Brown as good as Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown? Ain't nobody talking about that. Not to mention, you got to stay healthy. The grass might be green on the other side, but it still got to be mowed. So he might get up there and get more targets and get this and get that. It doesn't necessarily mean his stats going to be any better. Drake May choked. The tape was out on Drake May. He reached his limit to get there, but on the biggest stage. Now, mind you, let's keep it real. Jalen made the Super Bowl in what? It was his third year, second year. Second year, Jalen made it to the Super Bowl, or was that his third year? I always forget. Jalen, what year was Jalen drafted? Jalen was drafted in 2020, so that means his third year. So Jalen goes to the Super Bowl in his third year with a coach nobody said was going to take us to the Super Bowl. Let me say that one more again. He made it in his third year, second year as a full-time starter. And this is after Todd Bowles said he can't read defenses. Don't forget that. His second year as a starter, he goes to the Super Bowl and he outduels the best quarterback currently in the game in Patrick Mahomes. Handily. He outplayed Patrick Mahomes handily. And we lose that game on the BS defensive holding call on Bradbury. I bet you if the situation would have been reversed, they wouldn't have called it. That's just my opinion. So you talking about all of the everything you want from the if Stafford is so good, how come he ain't going back to back to the Super Bowls? Because it's hard to do. How come Jared Goff can't get back? Let's see if Sam Darnold can get back. How come Kirk Cousins can't get to it? All of these people, and you got to have a quarterback can do this. And the funny thing is, we've seen Jalen do it before. And the only thing different is when he did it was when Shane Steichen was here. Something is to be said when you got the same voice in your ear for more than a year. Kevin Patullo should have been fired. However, if Kevin Patullo would have kept his job, I guarantee you Jalen would have been better in 2026 than that bullshit we was doing in 2025. Not to mention the offensive line would have been better because now they're healthy. So let's just say that everything has been true. Let's say everything is true. Kevin Patullo wasn't good. Jalen don't throw the ball across the middle. He has a hard time reading defenses. He's just not a good throwing quarterback. All of this, let's say everything is true. And if the offensive line was blocking at least adequately, they didn't have to be Pro Bowls across the board. I just need you to run block adequately so we can average at least 3 to 3.5 yards a pop. We couldn't even do that. And you can tell they was trying to make shit up because first it was the tush push. We had to get rid of that. All of a sudden, that wasn't a problem no more. Then Saquon had lost the step. And anybody on any media outlet, ESPN, Fox, NFL Network, any of them, and all of them was saying the same thing, that let me know they were not watching our games in the first place. If you had the audacity to go on a national show and say Saquon had lost the step, I don't know what the Eagles are going to do, the passing game is going to suffer, then you wasn't watching our games. Because most of the time last year in 2025, nobody said nothing about how bad our run blocking was. Nobody said anything. The only thing they said was the offense looks terrible. And I'll say it again. And I know AJ is leaving. AJ Brown ain't never said anything wrong. Not once. I don't give a damn if you don't like his tweets. I don't care if you didn't like the book he was reading. None of that. He ain't never told a lie. The problem started when our offensive line couldn't run block. Because we couldn't run block, we couldn't run play action. Because we couldn't run play action, that means we couldn't occupy the linebackers. And if we couldn't occupy the linebackers, that damn sure means we couldn't occupy the safety. And if we couldn't do that, the defenses were pinning their ears back and getting with us. They knew where the ball was going because half our offense and half our subterfuge was gone. You pigeonhole your offense if you can't run any type of play action. They had no fear of our run game, even after Saquon Barkley had 2,000 yards. That's why our offense suffered so much. And then when we did get out on a good start, we couldn't consistently keep it up. That's why we had great first halves and horrible second halves, and horrible second halves and great first half. We was bipolar as an offense because we couldn't put it together. Whatever they were shooting Cam Jurgens up with wore off by halftime, and he couldn't get another one. That was the problem. And I still don't know why, and I'm saying this again, and I will say it every time I bring this point up. As much as I love Jeff Stoutland, that man is platinum in my book. I hope they find a way to put him in the Hall of Fame. I love Jeff Stoutland, everything about him. He is the ultimate coach, period. However, the run game was his responsibility. And if he couldn't see that Cam Jurgens was on the struggle bus and put Brett Toth in there as a backup until Cam Jurgens can get himself right and play at a decent level, that's his responsibility, and that was his mistake. That was a bad decision on Jeff Stoutland. As much as it pains me to say that, because me and Tone talk about this all the time. Never in a million years would I have had on my bingo card that Jeff Stoutland was part of the problem why our offense couldn't do anything. But I have to give that responsibility to him because he was responsible for our offensive line. I know he taught him right, but that was a coaching move. As a coach, you gotta step in and do what the players can't do because you're the coach. Because at the end of the day, they got to do what you tell them to do, and if they don't, then you take them off the field. That's what you're supposed to do as a coach, even at this level. Even at this level, you look at Coughlin, you look at Parcells, you look at Jimmy Johnson, you look at Dan Reeves, you look at them hard-nosed, old-school coaches and how they got it done. And those were coaches that transitioned a little bit into this new era. You tell them what to do. This is not right. You can go all the way back to when Mike McDaniels and Tua got hurt. Remember when Tua took that first concussion and he got up all wobbly? And the refs let him stay in the game when he couldn't even walk back to the huddle. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts gets tackled. He gives the ref the thumbs up. They take him out the game and he don't come back. Like you see there's a disconnect right there. But you got to understand that's part of that issue with our offensive line. You have to put that on Jeff Stoutland because that was his responsibility. I don't doubt that he's the best coach, offensive line coach ever. I don't doubt that. What I doubt is Cam Jurgens was bad. He said that. Cam Jurgens, go look busting with the boys. He said that. Cam Jurgens said, I had a back problem, I had a slipped disc, and then the disc was wrapped around my sciatic nerve. He said that. I'm not making that up. So if he is saying that, and there were some days he couldn't walk, it is your coach's responsibility to sit your ass down. And Jeff Stoutland didn't do it. That's on him. And I love Jeff Stoutland, but I got to keep it 100. That is why I'm saying, even with Jeff Stoutland away and Cooper taking over as offensive line coach, his bar is low based on what they did last year. The bar is very low. Like, bruh, all you got to do is get this offensive line to block at an adequate level. I didn't say great. I didn't say all pro. All I said was adequate baseline level. Can we get Saquon Barkley 3.5 yards per carry? Every now and then, he going to bust a long one some way up the middle. It shouldn't be that he has to bounce outside every damn time to make a splash play. If we can do that, we good. Sean Mannion is going to be great. Jalen Hurts is going to be a hell of a lot better. It's all related, and nobody talked about that. All they wanted to do was throw Kevin Patullo under the bus, Sirianni under the bus, Jalen Hurts under the bus, A.J. Brown under the bus. Nobody in this whole thing last year, nobody mentioned Stoutland at all. And that's where it starts and stops. Because everybody likes to use that cliche, you win games in the trenches. Well, he's responsible for the offensive trenches. And I love Jeff Stoutland. So we're going to see if Lane Johnson can stay healthy. If Landon Dickerson can stay healthy. I don't ever want to see Landon Dickerson bring a fucking jug of beer to practice again. I don't want to see it. Because you know what? He made that media fracas, and he showed up 2 days after he had, I guess he had a scope or some type of knee surgery, a knee procedure, and he was back in practice in 2 days, handing everybody out beer. And guess what? If that's how we play during the year because you handing out beer, I don't want to see no damn beer at practice. Not never. Bruh, water is wet. Dude. And let me be honest with you. I don't like Dak Prescott because he played for the Cowboys, but I don't dislike Dak Prescott because Dak Prescott is another guy that they really didn't want down in Dallas. But you know what? Dak Prescott done had every opportunity. You got how many different great all-pro wide receivers you done had, and they still couldn't get it done. How come it's okay and they not – has anybody talked about Dak Prescott playing for his job? How come Kirk Cousins didn't play and got another job, but nobody's ever said he's got to play for his job? They keep on pushing that goalpost, man. They moving them goalposts. Has anybody said that Justin Herbert needs to be playing for his job? This is a pivotal year. I ain't heard them conversations yet. And we done been to the Super Bowl twice with the same quarterback that you say is uncoachable and can't throw across the middle. If I'm not mistaken, but in 2024, didn't we score a touchdown to A.J. Brown by throwing the ball across the middle? My bad. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Bruh, what's going on? Mannion, listen, I said this about Mannion, man. I said this about Mannion. Mannion is 3 years removed, just 3 years removed from playing football actively, going to practice, shoulder pads, helmets. He is 3 years removed. you do not just lose that muscle memory. And the benefit of that is that him and Jalen can speak the language. I guarantee you there's somebody in this chat. There's somebody in this chat that knows how to speak Spanish. There is a difference between knowing how to speak Spanish and growing up in a Hispanic family. There's a difference between learning. There's a difference between getting an A in Spanish class at school and growing up in a Dominican house or a Puerto Rican house or a Mexican house. It's a different level. That's what's going on with Sean Mannion and Jalen Hurts. Sean Mannion played the position. I don't care if you've been a coach for X amount of years. Sean Mannion played the position, and he played the position not long ago. It takes, and this is my opinion, it takes you about 5 to 7 years to get it out of your system. When I stopped playing football in 97, it took me a while to get it out of my system. And I've said this many times before. The biggest mistake I ever made when I made the decision to stop playing football, because for me, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. But the biggest mistake I made was when I stopped playing football, I should have immediately either started coaching, try to get on with a team, try to do something in some capacity in that arena. But I was like, F it. I'm done playing football. Got a nasty taste in my mouth. All right. I got my degree. I'm going to start pounding the pavement for what I went to school for, blah, 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 blah. And that wasn't wrong, but the psychology doesn't work. I should have did something to stay involved with football because you can't just turn it off. And with Mannion, you can't just turn it off. That's why he a coach. That's why he moved up the ranks so fast. And I think in this situation, him and Jalen will speak the same language. There'll be some unspoken communication because Sean Mannion is going to know very acutely some of the things that Jalen Hurts is experiencing, going through. He's going to have some of the whys and why nots, and he's going to be able to offer better advice for the position than anybody else. Better than Sirianni. Sirianni was a receiver in college. Better than Kevin Patullo? Did Kevin Patullo even play? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference. If me as a former running back in the NFL, if I go on another team or if I'm coaching my little league teams and I'm coaching a running back, I know more than everybody on this damn field. And you can't tell me anything different. Now, if you want to tell me that you can call plays better, you can be an overall coach better, that's fair. But when it comes to these running backs and the things that I'm doing to make them better, and you can't tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. I ain't got to argue with parents on who should be in, who should be out. You can't argue with me. I know this too well. That's what Sean Mannion is bringing with Jalen Hurts. And we ain't had that before, with the exception of Doug Peterson. With the exception of Doug Peterson. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward. But we got to stop. Some of the rhetoric is just crazy. And it has just been one hit piece after another hit piece after another hit piece about Jalen Hurts. And it's like, come on, y'all. Like, come on. Come on, y'all. It's like we gotta get to something else. We gotta talk about something else. Because that's old hat. And that's the thing. Everybody is in the same boat again. Everybody. And if you want to put apples to apples again, let's just compare Super Bowl champions. So you mean to tell me you would take Sam Darnold over Jalen Hurts? How long did it take him to get there? Not to mention, and it's to the point now, we don't even talk about how many damn offensive coordinators Jalen not had anymore. They don't even bring that up anymore. Like, it's you can't mention that no more. It's not fair. And it's like, what do you mean it's not fair? That is a huge hindrance. But they don't want to bring it up. I agree with that. I agree with that. And when you go back and look at some of them games and some of how things was going on the sidelines, think about it like this. Think about it like this, because Jalen's gonna play soldier. Jalen is from a coach hard by his dad. Do y'all forget it was Jalen's rookie year, second year? Can't remember. Where he said this in a post-game presser. He said he had to tell Sirianni, like, hey, it's okay if you coach me hard. Remember that? Jalen can handle all of this shit. So maybe the times where Jalen and AJ was getting into it, maybe that's Jalen playing soldier for the head coach, because him as the quarterback, that's what he's supposed to do. That's how he was raised. And maybe the rift, and I'm just speculating, I don't know, I'm guessing, maybe the rift between Jalen and AJ was because AJ was like, bro, you ain't got my back. But there's an awesome responsibility when you got that C on your chest and you QB1. Are you going to throw your coach under the bus? Because that opens up a whole nother Pandora's box. So maybe that could be part of the deal. Maybe AJ saw the forest for the trees and saw how everything was going and some of the stuff that didn't make sense. Because, hell, based on what Jeff Stoutland said, it sounds like that's the way he was headed anyways. Remember when I used to rant and rave during the season? Like, stop making it complicated. Remember I kept saying that? It's not complicated. We got to control this guy. We got to get to the second level. We got to get on our blocks. It's not complicated. And we make it complicated. Stoutland said the same exact thing. It ain't hard, guys. It's not hard. It's not like, you notice how he said that? Basically what he was saying was, what my limited intellect is saying, it is not hard to formulate a game plan based on these things. What that tells me as a former player that used to be in these meetings, they want to keep it as simple as possible. Because when you do that, everybody understands. Your goal as a coach is to get everybody on the same page as quickly as possible. The good coaches have figured out a way to get that done ASAP. The best coaches are the ones that can get their team together, facing the same direction quicker than anybody else. It's not always the best team. It's not always the teams with the best talent. None of that. None of that. Why you think Mike Tomlin walked away? It gets to a point where it gets hard to do your job because you got to manage. Coaches are like teachers now. You got to manage personalities and mental health and all of that kind of. It's like, that's not what I signed up for. That's not what I'm good at. I'm good at coaching. I ain't good at managing somebody's mental health. I ain't good at keeping somebody off of Twitter. I ain't good at keeping telling my star quarterback not to play Call of Duty till 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm not good at that. I'm good at coaching X's and O's. Now it's a whole new. They like teachers, except they get paid a hell of a lot more money. So I mean, so it's there's a lot more to it than it used to be. But the rewards, the penalties and the rewards are a lot more expensive. So, I mean, it's crazy. They move the goalposts every time that he's talked about. Absolutely, Eric. Old heads in the building. So I mean, it's like they make it complicated, man. They make it complicated. Luckily, when I came up, and I say this all the time, and I'm not even going to say I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm tooting my own horn. That's exactly what I'm doing. So yes, I am trying to do that. When I was in college, I was the man from my redshirt freshman year on. And everybody knew I was the man. So everybody knew what was going on. This was me. I wore number 40 because I saw NFL films about Gale Sayers, and I was hooked. And that was me. And everybody knew what I was going to do. And I'm on the 2026 College Football Hall of Fame ballot again. I've been on the ballot for years. Maybe one day I'll make it in. Hopefully before I'm like 70 or something like that. But I've been on the ballot for years. So, but one thing I want to say is 89 from 89 to 92. I had 322 points. But what I'm looking for, this is it right here. This is it right here. I am still the all-time leading rusher in EKU and OVC history. And I hold the conference record 6.57 yards per carry. I was inducted in the EKU Hall of Fame in 2008. 6.57 yards a carry. And I'm saying that because everybody knew 40 was about to get the ball. And when I tell you I could tote the rock, I could tote the rock. So I ain't bullshitting with you. So when it comes to running backs and what it takes and what our offensive line, because I'm a running back, I understand what is required from in the trenches. Our offensive line is everything. Cam Jurgens is the most important piece on the field. I cannot stress that enough. Cam Jurgens is the center. Nothing happens without him. Jalen doesn't get the ball without Cam Jurgens. Cam Jurgens touches the ball on every play. Jalen doesn't. If we run a trick play and they snap it directly to Saquon or somebody jet motion across to the right, Jalen might not touch the ball, but Cam Jurgens has to touch the ball on every play. He is the most important piece. And if he can't play, we got a problem. That's exactly what happened last year. We just didn't find out what the deal was until we saw him on the podcast. Shout out to my people at Eastern Kentucky, man. Love y'all. EKU Colonels, maroon and white, baby. So it takes everybody. That's all I want to say. And hopefully the new Coach Cooper and Mannion can get back to what we do best. Dominating the line of scrimmage, running the ball, running good play action, and spreading the ball around and getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers and let them make plays. That's it. All right, I got to go, y'all. Time for y'all to get back to work. Finish your food. Wash your hands. Please wash your hands when you come out the bathroom and get back to work. I'm just messing with y'all. But all right, we're going to get up out of here, man. I will be on tonight at 8:30 with me and Tom. We're going to be going over the draft, talking about the results of the draft and some other stuff. So check out me and Tom tonight on the Bald Eagles podcast, 8:30 p.m. You can watch it on my channel, Pro Fan Talk, or you can watch it on Tom's channel, Chalk It Up Sports. Be there, be square, and I'm going to see y'all tonight. And as usual, go Birds. Yeah. Yo, 2026 and the link is feeling cold. Stories of a super runner getting kinda old. Jalen under fire, say his vision's getting tight. Calling him uncoachable every single night. AJ in the tray, got me in my field. Mr. Hollywood is the brownest on the field. Mannion calling plays, I'll be searching for the spark. Eagles flying solo, hunting shadows in the dark. Crable and Rossini trying to launch a master plan.
Ever since the photos got you sitting with the fans, draft day approaching. How we sitting on this perch? Gotta fill some holes, so you know he's on the search. 10 toes down with the Eagles on the scene. Watching out for Cap, cause your boy is bleeding green. Searching through the trending topics, info moving slow. Pro fan talk, always keep you in the know. Hit the bell, that's law. Break it down from the film to the box score raw. Where the real ones bar. From the birds to the league, we gon' cover it all. Hit the bell, that's law. Break it down from the film to the box score raw. Where the real ones bar. From the birds to the league, we gon' cover it all.